Hello everybody, it's Obley here, and today I just wanted to bring you this quick video discussing what the DK changes have actually done to the live gameplay for DPS DK. Obviously we had the Frost buffs and then the Unholy nerf, but did it actually change anything? What's the meta looking like? We'll go into that in today's video. So first we're going to just chat about Frost. So with the Frost buffs, mainly to Deathbringer, we've seen that Breath of Sindragosa has made a comeback. You can play Deathbringer with Shattering Frost if you wanted to, but from my testing, it just feels like Breath gels so much nicer in keys this way. You do have good consistent damage with Shattering Frost, and I would say that now because of the buffs, you can probably play Breath and Shatter both at the same level and get about the same DPS. So I was doing keys Wednesday and Thursday, and some of the DPS overalls at the end of the key I was getting would be on par with like Unholy numbers, so like Dark Flame Clef for example, anything with like a low target count. Breath does really well at, Frost does really well at. The Breath build itself was able to far supersede any sort of shattering numbers that I was able to get prior to the buffs, so that is a really good change. So would you be able to play Breath with Rider? No, it's the Deathbringer buff that makes Breath now viable. But one thing that I have found in my travels and keys is I have a mythic two-hander from playing Unholy most of this season, and I have two heroic one-handers. And when I did the Sims, both at AoE and single target, my two-hander comes out on top for damage. I was doing the raid, I did a raid clear with my guild as Breath Frost, and competing with all the other Shatter builds. My two-handed Breath Frost was getting me some world ranks, some high world ranks, so like third in the world for Vexy, Carnage, I can't remember the other boss off the top of my head, but you can definitely still play two-handed Frost. It's not like if you play it, you're trolling and your damage is going to be dog shit. It's just if you have two mythic dual wield weapons, you'll do maybe 1-2% more damage. But I think the actual maths is that by playing Breath, you can play two-hand and you'd be 1% below if you're playing dual wield. So as for the gear, would you change anything? Well, now that you can play Frost, you definitely want Crit Mastery. You want to veer away as much as possible from haste, as Deathbringer itself doesn't get any value from haste, so we just don't want that. So if you're coming from Unholy, it's quite difficult unless you've already been gearing yourself up. I mean, I kept some Crit Mastery gear behind just in case, because I thought this day might come. So I'm all right. I mean, I have 12% haste and I'd rather have less. I think sitting pretty at about 30% crit, that's where you want to be. With the two-hand spec as well, you want a little bit more crit just to make up for it. And I mean, I've got a heavy crit weapon, so it works out for me. As for trinkets, it does mean that you can then go back to the double on use. You can have like a Signet and a House of Cards and you do quite fine. I prefer House of Cards just because of the raw stats that you get from it, because you can get up to 9k, whereas a Signet, you get quite a little bit less, but you only get 5 more seconds of it, and I'm not too sure if the payoff is worth it for those extra 5 seconds, so I just prefer House of Cards, and then I always save it for every breath. Now with the nerf to Unholy's Blood Beast, I don't think we're going to, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. It's so little. We're still going to do a tremendous amount of damage, and just taking 5% of that damage off of the Blood of Life is not really going to see anything change in terms of the meta. So if I was to pick, I would still say Unholy is the go-to GOAT for higher keys, especially with the fact that it has such good execute damage too, and the bosses last quite a significant amount of time. I would say that Unholy is still the way to go. If you're just a Frost enjoyer, you're just going to enjoy this season a lot more now because you can play Frost. Someone presented me 2 specs, I had to play one for the rest of the season and never switch off, I would be choosing Unholy. Now if we're talking about raid and we have to compare the two, I would say that Frost and Unholy in heroic raid basically do the same numbers. If anything, I've actually beaten some of my Unholy logs with Frost damage, with Breath. So I mean, good space to be in if you enjoy Frost. However, for Mythic, I would still say Unholy is your best bet, just because of the raw execute damage that comes out of Sand Lane. You really do want to stay with Unholy. I mean, I haven't had a chance to actually test it out yet with the other Mythic bosses because I've been extending Mugsy. Now that we've killed it, we'll be extending to Gallywix. But still, I probably would stay with Unholy just because the timings are a little bit better. So all in all, what has the nerfs and buffs actually done to the spec? So Frost is now a viable choice in keys, but it isn't meta. Unholy is still meta, let's make that very clear, but it is definitely viable. I mean, you're still beating out other classes. The trouble is when you have 2 specs in the same class that do very well, they are often pitted against each other, and you kind of ignore the rest of the classes in the game. So it's like, oh, which is better, Frost or Unholy? Both of those specs will beat a lot of DPS classes in the game. So no matter what you choose, you can still finish top overall, especially if you're good at your class, and a good Frost DK will definitely beat out a mid demo Warlock, do you know what I mean? So the Frost have been buffed, and Frost is now viable. In Raid, basically pick whatever you like. If you have better gear for one spec, then you'll probably, and you play better at that spec, then you will probably do more numbers than if you were to play like Unholy, if you were just not very good at Sand Lane. But all in all, to wrap this up into a short, sweet statement, Unholy for high keys, Frost and or Unholy for anything else. For Raid, play whichever you're the best at. For late Mythic progression, stick with Unholy. Thanks very much, everybody. Feel free to like, comment and subscribe to stay up to date with some DK news and gameplay. Thanks, everyone. Bye now.